Christ is risen. The Lord is risen indeed. Alleluia. Why do you look for the living among the dead? There is an old Sufi parable told by the wise fool Nasruddin. His friend Mansour comes to visit him and finds Nasruddin down on his hands and knees, crawling on the sidewalk under a street lamp outside his house, clearly looking for something. Nasruddin, what are you doing? Did you lose something? Yes, Nasruddin replies, I lost the key to my house, and I'm trying to find it, but I can't. Mansour, wanting to help, kneels down and begins searching with him. And after a while, they swear they've looked everywhere around the sidewalk and still no key. Mansour eventually speaks up. What if we retrace your steps? Where do you remember you lost your key? Nasruddin responds, oh, well, I lost the key in my house. In your house? Well, then why are we out here on the sidewalk? Because there's more light here. Buddhist teacher Ezra Beda reflects on this story and says, how often are we like Nasruddin, looking in the wrong place for something that isn't even there? Why do you look for the living among the dead? But you might say, these women weren't looking for the living. At early dawn, a group of them came to the tomb carrying spices for a dead body, their hearts heavy with grief, their hopes buried with their Lord. They have come to perform the rites and rituals that sustain them, that sustain us, as we honor and remember those whom we have laid to rest. And with them, sometimes, life not only as we knew it before, but perhaps life as we hoped it might be. I imagine that there are no small number of us this morning for whom this could be the more apt question. What does it even mean to look for the living? We aren't looking for the living among the dead. We're drudging through a minefield of institutional rubble, whiplashed by capricious policy shifts. Uncertain, some of us, if the cancer trial my beloved has been in for 4 months will be canceled, or if my life's work to build after-school programs for kids of all incomes will be allowed to continue for those who need it most. If the gutting of enforcement will mean anything for the IEP that we've advocated for the past 3 years that maybe finally is starting to make a difference for my child's education. We aren't looking for life. We are lucky if we even have spices to carry. And those who do carry them also carry with them immense courage. Those whose grief has been put into motion. Many of us are still in shock. Some of us still in denial, perhaps. Why do you look for the living among the dead? Others of us might say, what do you mean, look for the living? Right? I don't have to look any farther than the YouTube shorts on my phone to find how I am living. Look for the living. Guys, I just found this new protein smoothie routine. And by the way, I optimized my Lenten discipline of optimizing so well that 60 hours is the new 70 hours. And I am getting some mad downward dog time with my new Celine Cork yoga mat. Right? It's like yoga got the upgrade to first class. Look for the living. Everything is getting ready to change when this next round of funding comes through. when my kids are accepted into my alma mater, when my party wins the midterms, the court cases, the lottery. Look for the living, look no further. Except, is this actually where the living is found? Or is it just where there happens to be more light? Or more energy, more attention, more security, more vibes? I might argue that the commoditization of life, no longer just on a happy little cereal box, but on our devices and in our overconsumption, has us praying at the altars of false idols, to which we ask, how much is enough? And to which all we'll ever hear is just a little bit more. Beda goes on to reflect on this Nasruddin story, saying that we find ourselves searching under the street lamp for a magic key to make everything clear, especially when life gets hard. Why do you look for the living among the dead? Beloved, the Easter answer is not terribly satisfying on the superficial level. The answer does not fit neatly with our ego's preference for something quick and easy, something that's straightforward or obvious. I know this is something we've learned perhaps in the season of transition as it has stretched out together. Our impulse is to go to the tomb and to look for ourselves. But there is no magic key to be found. And that is actually good news if we can hear it, if we can feel it. There is no magic key. There is no stairway to heaven which we have to climb up to all on our own or trampling on others. And it is enough in the community of resurrection where we have permission to not have it figured out, and yet by love still come to grace. Grace, which is this unearned, unmerited, unconditional, and freely given favor of our God. You know something? I think I can say this in Silicon Valley. Grace is that very old and yet still very innovative technology of the Christian faith. Right? Don't worry if you didn't get on the Series B round when you were an infant. Grace is always ready for you to buy in. A grace that does not coerce, but gives way, and allows us to be witnesses to resurrection life that is life-giving and not death-dealing, that rises by lifting others instead of by pushing them down or casting them out. Resurrection is not about bargaining our way back into a garden or making Eden great again, nor is it about trying to avoid death and live forever in the way that we do now. It doesn't ignore the pain, suffering, and death we have so often experienced at the hands of each other. Even God didn't escape the populist impulses of an authoritarian ruler. Resurrection also keeps us from kneeling before the false idols of control, certainty, and satiation, as if the very core of our beings were contingent on how we thought of ourselves in middle school or even now. What a tyranny to sustain such a prodigal effort. Resurrection frees us from life with a one-speed transmission whose only gear is death drive, as we instead learn to accept that small d deaths are a part of life, resurrection life, and instead seek to root ourselves firmly in this unmerited, unearned, unconditional, and freely given grace and love of God. A love, Easter reminds us, will never die. Resurrection courageously calls us to continue looking for the living, even when all we can see is the tomb and all we can carry are the spices. Whatever hell you've known, Christ wants to harrow it. And whatever you've hoped might be true and good in the most profound way, in your deepest longings of your heart, Christ wants to sanctify it. Resurrection shows us that life is out there, always finding a way. That love is not just a sentiment, but a commitment from God and to God, and invites us to look for the living in the consolation of grace. In this season of transition, I've discovered something that many of you likely already knew: that St. Mark's is a healthy community to gather, to practice, and abide in the grace of resurrection life. Beloved, may you continue to offer this grace always to one another, to your new rector, and to yourselves. Alleluia, Christ is risen.